All right, we're gonna skip the daddy-os tonight, the daddy-o chant this night, mostly because Kurt hated it. He really hated it,
Yeah, it's
and
cringe, bud.
it's shut up, Phil. But to give you a warning tonight, this is going to be a memorial show for our friend Kurt Boutin, and if it's going to trigger you or make you sad, we get it. You might want to skip this one, but this whole show is going to be built around how he touched our lives and our memories of him. So off we go.
This is Wise and Nerdy, where fatherhood meets fandom.
I have never seen Joe so lively before the show, and cantankerous at that. To this, as soon as we go live, just solemn. Like I'm the crazy one. He gaslights me every week. We have, I don't believe either one of us invited him. The troll just showed up. We've got Philip Keating on for no real reason.
I got kicked out of the bridge I was staying under. So I found a new trash can to come and sit inside for a couple hours.
And random kids already jumping in. The title better be a bad dad joke. We can make that happen, I'm sure. So I don't even remember what the question of the week was, but I believe we opted to bump it. More or less, I guess, to make the announcement of what happened, Joe. We didn't really talk that much about it pre-show.
No,
about how we wanted to handle it. We just knew we needed to step up.
Yeah, well, and I figure a lot of people will ask how, why, whatever questions, and so we'll just give a basic version of what we know. Yeah, so on Sunday, Mother's Day, Kurt went for his normal walk, and he was struck by an impaired driver, and he succumbed to those injuries. Yeah, we didn't find out. At least I didn't find out till Monday evening.
Night. Yeah. So it's weird how the world works sometimes. I still don't know who messaged our connection. We all know Carl Dodge, right? BC Dodge. And I just get a random text from him Monday evening. And I'm sorry. Even if you're freaking out, you need to kind of lead with a little more tact. But he's like, Kurt's dead, question mark? I'm like, what?
Jesus.
No. Yeah. Yeah, that was literally the text. It's like, no. He's like, and he sends me a screenshot, and I can't recognize the person's face or whatever from Facebook that messaged him. It didn't have a name. It just said, hey, I just wanted you to know Kurt passed away. And so you instantly go Googling and looking and couldn't really find a whole lot at that time. Hit both of these guys up separately saying, hey, I'm about to walk into a thing. This is coming at me. I don't have time to figure it out. I know, you guys are good at figuring things out and not freaking out at first. And then it did turn out that, unfortunately, Sunday morning. Well, okay, Phil freaked out a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah, I did. That ruined the rest of my week, bud.
Sorry.
Your text message.
The fact of the matter is, the text message did not ruin the rest of your week. The truth behind the message
that's true.
ruined the rest of your week.
Literally, we sat down for dinner. I took an hour and 15 minutes to make dinner. I get everything set on the table. I sit the kid down. I sit Morgan down. And then my fat behind sat down, and I grabbed my phone because the Phillies were playing, and I had my phone up watching the old baseball scores. And then your text rolls through, and I was like, gosh, darn it.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah. And so, and then you were gone for hours. I couldn't get a hold of you.
Nobody.
I was in the middle of something with my family, and I looked at it, and I'm like, I just kind of just stopped, and my wife's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "We'll find out." And I showed her it, and so she continued distracting the boys and doing what we were in the middle of, and I went to searching, and I sent you what I found, and
which is an article I'd found as we sat down. I looked at it real quick because then to follow up, when I said I haven't heard anything. No, I mean, I don't know. And he said the Facebook thing, like, I don't know who would be trolling somebody. That's a horrible way to troll somebody, but it has happened in the past on Facebook with different people. And then Carl proceeds to send me the most scammy looking fake website ever that had one paragraph about DUI, and the victim was Kurt Boutin, and everything. I mean, it looked like, you want to meet singles in your neighborhood. I'm like, what is this? And then I looked up the same article that Joe ended up sending me.
That was Kurt's favorite website. So dreamdaddies.com to meet hot single daddies.
Yeah. So I did say this on TikTok. I didn't say it at the beginning of the show, but yes, I know the three of us tend to deal with some things with dark humor. We are going to celebrate his life. We're going to have some sad moments. There might be some four-letter words, but Phil has a bet that he won't say it, so we'll see.
I even said behind.
But we are going to, we are going to talk about how you handle grief, because we all handle it individually. I want to talk through that, how we handle it. And I do apologize to both of you, because my wife had to remind me. She's like, people don't handle that kind of news like you do. Because I was thinking, like, hey, this is important to all of us. We normally, I'd be the one looking it up, figuring it out, then find a tactful way to say, okay, this is true. You guys need to know. You're my guys, right? Like, okay, I can't look it up. I know you two would jump in on it. So I do apologize to both of you for just slamming you at dinner with, but I did preface it with, I'm getting one person telling me that Kurt has died. I don't really believe him. Can y'all look stuff up?
Yeah, and then you were like, I've been calling and texting Kurt, but I can't get hold of him.
Well, I told you that once. I said I did call him once.
No, but to be honest with you, Charles, I think that was the best way to alert me about it, right? Because then I'm not finding out, through somebody else, right?
Right. And there was, in our collective communities, there were some people who went a little nuts and just kind of bust into a room virtually and went, oh my God, and just lit the drama on fire. And that's not the best way to find out either.
No, it wasn't. But so it gave me the opportunity to call everybody close to me, right? I called Dennis, Tristan, Steve, Swan, my mother. Danny was upset because he met Kurt when he came down to Gettysburg in 2021. Morgan's upset because they would actually talk about different fitness or different eating habits and stuff like that. And she was also down here when he showed up in 2021. So,
well, it goes to show you, even meeting Kurt for a brief bit, he leaves an impact.
More than you actually know, because I've had multiple messages through the botch Discord about literally people saying, I met Kurt only at Dragon Con, and he remembered my name, even only meeting me once. And in such a big ocean, he made people feel, like a human, right? Not just another face in the sea. He made it a point to memorize people's names and do these very minute, what seems very minute things that mean a lot to people, right? And he's so welcoming about it.
John put here in the chat, I questioned it because he was still playing Balatro and still is.
Yeah, bro, he's got a problem. He's got an interdimensional problem,
So
to explain that to people who aren't in the know, Kurt's computer is obviously still on and logged into Discord and has Balatro pulled up, so
he has it tied to show
it still shows in Discord that he's playing Balatro.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about maybe a little bit later, because we'll get into the sections about triggers and how it bothers you guys when we talk about grief. I do want to say, since he never really was a fan of scotch or anything like that, and he was a fit guy, I'm going to be drinking Yingling Light tonight in his in his honor. And when we're done with the cans, we're done with the show. There's 6 more.
I brought a whole glass of Everclear, so we'll see.
Wow. Because I'm
going to stick to my Dr. Pepper.
Yeah,
I thought about going out and getting a Diet Coke and drinking it tonight, but I was like, I'll stick with that. I got.
All right, well let's roll some dice because while you do that, I'll explain. Joe's like, well, should we? We probably don't want to stick to the format. I said, no, we absolutely do, because then it'll take us into different areas to talk about him, and it'll keep us from just wallowing and wandering all over the place.
Yeah, smart.
Full run through. Said
How
eight. My
do
first.
I?
Thank you. We how do I don't what is into how do I?
How do I deal with grief?
Okay, good. So go ahead and read that, Joe.
Yeah, so Tyler, the full run through, put in, I ate my first fluffernutter in his honor. Not a bad sandwich, I must admit.
You don't have to admit that. He's not going to call you out, man.
I like fluffernutters. I haven't had one in a long time, but I like them.
Okay.
Philip does not
has
like
lost like 100 pounds.
Not quite. Only 94.
Once he stopped eating fluffernutters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You didn't realize that those Dr. Pepper cans were half full of fluffernutter mixed with Dr. Pepper.
That sounds like a Blood Feud punishment drink.
Oh, no.
Oh, and you're part of Blood Feud this year.
Oh, I didn't know that. Now I do.
It's not official yet, so
it is.
Me, Phil. And that's a question. So how do I deal with grief as I start to spin? Does anybody want to go first, or do you want me to take the lead? What would y'all like to do?
It depends on which phase of grief I'm in, to be honest. I went through a bunch of different phases of grief this past week and a lot of people try to be like, oh, you've gone through this phase, you can return to different phases. They come back.
Yeah, just because there's 5 doesn't mean they're linear.
Yeah. And so, we talked about, I had several different times where I was dealing with it through thoughts of dark humor. Like even the Belatro one that John put in chat. I texted my wife. I took a screenshot of it and I was like, dying didn't even stop him from playing Belatro.
That is how much you love. It's good to know that Heaven has super great Wi-Fi, though.
Oh, whoa. We don't know that that's where he's at.
Well, wherever he is, the Wi-Fi rocks. So I like to know that.
Oh, man.
That's 666G.
Seriously, though, you have a Waluigi board. Can you contact him and see if he says Wah?
Oh, man. I could. But it's up in storage right now. I wish I had that handy.
So, Joe, I know you've been up and down this week with the emotions and whatnot. How did you process whatever you've processed so far?
So my initial reaction to bad news is almost always shut off all emotion. Like that's seriously, that's my body naturally just shuts it all off and prevents me from processing for a little while. So it even once I found out, it was probably about an hour before I've even started really processing it, to be completely honest. And so I completely went internal and didn't do anything, to be honest, for the first little bit.
You sent me a freaking tear emoji, sad face. Like, don't send emojis. That's the worst. Now that I'm dogging you, it's like I would have taken "I'm sad" in words versus an emoji.
Okay.
Like, damn, dude.
So now, maybe for the next week, I'm only going to communicate with you
emojis.
In emojis. Yeah.
Well, so the trick is we don't really communicate that much on the show.
That's
so,
true. That's true.
Yeah. What about you, Phil?
Well, back in the day, I used to shut off all emotions and compartmentalize and drink really heavily. Turns out that's a really bad way to deal with everything, right? I would push everybody away too, right? So after I couldn't do that anymore because it almost ended me up in a noose. So this time it's been a little bit different, where I'm just letting everything kind of go free. So I'll be fine, and then I'll have random crying spells. I'll hit these like pockets of anger that I'm feeling towards the irresponsibility of a 65-year-old man.
Was he 65? I thought he was 52.
Whatever.
58. No, The drunk
The
driver
driver.
was 52.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kurt was 58.
But also this whole time, I would find it pretty disrespectful if I dealt with the death of my friend from a drunk driver by getting drunk, right? So we're going just full into it. Today has been my best day out of the last 3 days. I'm still feeling really upset and sad about it, but Kurt was also really prominent and really vocal about me not shutting people out and death spiraling when I get sad. And so I also am not allowing myself to death spiral because it would really anger him if I did that. So I'm finding different avenues to deal with my sadness and everything. I'm here tonight, right, in front of people. On Tuesday, the morning after we found out, I streamed on our Animal Crossing show, which I haven't done in 5 years. So, like, I'm finding different outlets, but being raw and honest about it. Like, I broke down as I opened up the Nook Taverns. Like, as I opened the doors to Nook's Tavern, I was already crying. Because it does me and nobody good if I hide all of that behind the screen anymore, man. I tried that. It didn't work. So, it's just how I'm dealing with things these days.
Yeah, I get that. And everybody has to deal with it in their own way. Everybody processes in their own way. And I want people to hear me when I say I don't understand something, that's the truth. Like I can understand why you might do something XYZ, but it's not me. And I don't understand it. And I've had a number of people, man, my phone blew up that night. You know, about how are you doing? How are you doing? It's like I understand nobody's gone through a death like this with me out in the digital sphere, but I'm just there. I did a TikTok video on it, but the first thing I did was I been a paramedic for almost 30 years, and the biggest thing I learned just in a moment was life goes on. You know, my uncle died, and I was grieving over him many years ago, but business still had to go on. I had to show up for work. Things were happening. We had to go clean out his apartment. You know, life moves on, and grief is for us because you made an impact on us, right? I'll say that the first thing I do is I really tamper down the drama. Like I started picking to my wife, you know, not to him, but I started picking on Carl. I'm like, you haven't even talked to Kurt in like 5 years, and you're going nuts. You're spinning your wheels. You're going crazy on this. I talk to him like once a month when he shows up for the show. But no, I've worked closely with him. Sorry, I couldn't help it. But I've worked closely with him. And first, let's just figure things out. And that's where I went. And I read the articles and this and that. I do want to say, I look for facts. I look for things that tell me what happened. And I did that on Tuesday. Joe and I got on the phone for about 20 minutes to figure this show out and what we're going to do tonight. And I just started looking up news reports and looking up the pictures. And I can tell you, as a paramedic, from the car, he got killed instantly. And to me, that's a peaceful thing. And if that doesn't help you and it hurts you, I'm sorry. It's not the intent. For me, that helps me know, as a paramedic, seeing the windshield, seeing the car, seeing the scene, he probably never saw it coming, honestly. He was just walking along, and then he wasn't. Looked up the whole, because our brains want to fill in where there's no facts. And my brain had read something in the article, because I saw an intersection of whatever streets, and it made me think he was crossing the street. And so I looked up the Google Maps, I watched the news footage to match the buildings, all this stuff. I kind of went into detective mode for about an hour, and it's like, I know, I can now see exactly what happened. And it sucks. It sucks. But at first, the first news report made it sound like he got hit, and then they worked him for a while, and then later at the hospital, it made it sound like it took time for him to succumb to his injuries, and it didn't. They were doing CPR instantly, and I can tell you, if hopefully this helps, if not, sorry, but statistically, doing CPR on a trauma victim, less than 1% come back. It is, and looking at the footage from the photos and the news reports, there's not a lot of blood. There's not a mess. And to my paramedic brain, that just tells me he went more or less the best possible way, except in your sleep, right? I mean, nobody wants him to die. That is not what I'm saying at all. But there's no suffering. There was none of that. And now I'm following the case. Today was the arraignment of the driver, and I'm also filtering out the stuff the lawyer's putting up, and oh no, this or that. But you still process through the emotions. I looked up earlier. They haven't posted anything from the arraignment yet.
They haven't.
But the family is one. Joe and I talked about this too. We don't even know his wife's name, right? We don't know his
It's
kid's
Brenda.
name. You told me that you didn't know her name. I don't know her name. I
he
thought
looked
you didn't
it
know
up on Facebook before the show started.
Okay.
I reached out to his son earlier today, just to ask, because people in Discord were asking if there was anything that they could do. And so I reached out to his son, Jonathan, and he did provide, he said, thank you for reaching out. He was going to hop in his dad's Discords and give an update. Cause he's still logged in. Who knows how many, they're planning on setting up a GoFundMe. And he gave me a PO box. If anyone wanted to send flowers or anything like that, they could. They're not planning on doing a wake or a funeral. And they said sometime in the summer, they're planning on doing a celebration of life.
Good.
And then he does say that he appreciates all the thoughts and prayers that people are sending. So I'll put that PO box on a ticket so that we can actually show it out. And
it will also be in the show notes.
Yes.
Sure,
yes, it will.
And that's the thing. When we did talk on Tuesday, we talked about how Kurt seemed to make it a mission or a point to keep home life and internet life separated, and those kind of things. And it's always a touchy situation of when to reach out to the family. And I've made it a policy to be judgment, right? I've seen how family deal with things. I don't know his family. I don't know if the outpouring of support and love and going, no, we miss him helps, or if it makes it worse. I don't know. So, but you obviously had a point to it to do that. It's a lot, man. And I find that for me, it's always, I know mentally I'm more sad than I think I am, but it's just a different ball game. And there were other things that were going on, non-negative. It was just some health concerns I had that I talked to Kurt about with him that put me in a more of a medical mindset with him in his life. That while it was sudden, it wasn't, I don't know, it didn't floor me. And I've had some sad moments, but more or less 1 hour obsession of looking at the photos to see if I can figure out the scene and how it worked. And then I'm not done, right? But I haven't been triggered. Wednesdays, he and I both use the app Stash for doing stocks. And on Wednesdays, one of us would text the other one because it's free stock on Wednesday. And you log in, you claim your little fraction of a penny or whatever of it. And we'd text each other on Wednesdays. When it popped up, one would remind the other. It popped up, and it didn't really upset me. I didn't spiral down the road of, I'll never text him again. I debated on playing his intro tonight, but I figured it was something that people would want and want to hear because I was neutral on it. I have played quite a bit of Balatro the last few days, not because I was playing it before, but he loved it, and it put it on my mind, and he helped me with some of my strategies and those kind of things.
To be completely blunt, I was never planning on buying Balatro, but I've been actually thinking about it the past few days.
So this is where I don't understand, but I want to put this out there for people to figure out what they want to do. I don't understand taking on somebody else's life when they pass away. Like doing a fit guy video because he passed away. Something I would have never done before, right? I've seen people debate that. And Joe, you do you, but if you wasn't going to buy the game, you're buying, let me ask you, would you be buying it just to go, hey, that makes me think of him and makes me happy.
I'd buy it because he loved it, and I'd be like, okay, well, let's give it a try. And it would make me think of every time I would play it, it would make me think of Kurt and how much he lit up while talking about Balatro. Because I mean, how many times was that his nerding out? Like 6 or 7 times in the past year. Because
No. Yeah.
60 or 70 times. Yeah.
But no, he absolutely loved it, and it would make me think of him and just the joy on his face that he would get while talking about it.
Yeah. You know, Phil, you were saying something a minute ago and I cut you off.
Oh, in the botch Discord, He Who Is Steve made a Balatro Joker card for Kurt. It was a custom Kurt Joker card, which was really cool.
So that might be something we can use. Part of how I deal with grief is I go into the business of death. There's always stuff to be handled. And one of the first things, I waited for Joe. Joe brought it up very quickly because like I didn't want to. Joe and I have never gone through anything like this since we've been working together. Not a family member loss, not a
wow.
Friend, you know. So I didn't know where the oh man, that's crass. It's like, but it's business, and we do need to get to it, but not right now. But we had almost finished our new logo, and Kurt's a big part of that logo, and so we just started talking about it, just like you and I had talked about it a little bit. And I will tell you, I don't understand, and if I don't understand it, I don't want to do it. But like people in the South, at least, put on the trucks in memory of Mama died. It was like 20 years ago. You know, they've bought 4 different trucks since then. They always pay somebody to put that sticker on their window. I'm like, or a tattoo that says, my friend died on the set. I don't understand that. So to me, we need to fix the logo to where it's not always his face on it. But Kurt, Kurt, you're Phil.
I'm Phil.
You're Phil. But you're sitting in Kurt's seat, so it's there. But you mentioned putting an homage to him, which is something we'd want to do. And honestly, working in a Balatro Joker card that is
that's not a bad idea.
We'll talk about it more, but that's really fitting there. But I started thinking about the other people he'd worked with, other people who might know, and I started texting, hey, did you know Kurt? The big one was Sunraven. Sin had no idea.
Oh, I was thinking about Sunraven today when I was in the shower.
Yeah.
I said it. It happened. It happened.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, geez, I wonder if anybody has let Sunraven know because they haven't done an episode of This Week in MCU in about a year. So
I don't really know what happened there with them. But Tuesday afternoon, I messaged him and said, hey, I saw his phone number in my phone and I messaged him. And he had not heard.
Anybody tell Ibbot?
Yeah,
Ibbot knows.
Hammond texted me Monday night saying he had told Ibbot, but I messaged Ibbot Tuesday as well. And we talked a little bit. Mike Woodard, didn't realize him and Kurt actually worked on some kind of project together that Kurt never finished. And Mike, so I texted him, was like, hey, do you know Kurt Boutin? And it was midday Tuesday, right? Whatever. So Mike's at work. He gets a break. He calls me. Now, for those of you who don't know, that's Shut Up Mike, right? That's
Mike.
The one who does. Yeah, there you go. That's the one that we play the outro of his, and Kurt always says, "Shut up, Mike." And they were, for the first year or so, they were dueling voiceovers for the show, and I had no idea that they had worked on some project. And so what I told him was, "Hey, I'm sorry to tell you that this happened, and he has passed away." And Mike started, and rightfully so, he started crying. I'm like, dude, you gotta go back to work. You shouldn't have called me. But he's been processing it, and he said he's going to finish up whatever episode or thing they had done together and put it out. So those kind of things have been interesting, how far out the reach goes with people. You just never know how that happened. Audie Norman, I had to let him know, and his only real interaction with Kurt was listening to the show here as he's working on the logo. But yeah, it's never fun to be the the person who breaks that news, but it is something I've done many times. Joe, did you end up calling? I know you went to Discord that night in our two communities, the Dragon Con and
Yeah.
Wise and Nerdy, but did you have to call anybody or talk to anybody or want to?
I mean, I mentioned it to a few people in my life, but the people that I mentioned it to, they didn't know Kurt, not beyond any clips here and there. I mean, even myself, the only time I ever saw Kurt in person was the few times that we were at Dragon Con together.
Yeah, that was on purpose.
At any segment, any point in all this show, everybody who's live here, you can make comments, you can ask questions, you can share your own stories.
So
Steven put up, I was hitting this real good. Steven put up, man, I've been thinking about him all week. Finally got myself to cry a little bit, and it helped. I get that.
John said that Kurt has better internet than you do, Charles.
And I want to talk about that for a second.
That made me laugh.
I know, but it was so for those listening to the podcast. Joe was hitting a point about something, and John.
It was super serious, super heartfelt point.
Yeah,
and I see it, and I start cracking up.
I did too, and we're trying to laugh, and Joe's like, "No, really." And so it was not that we're laughing at Joe, in the moment, but it's just a delay on things. Sometimes when the chat comes in, and it just hit. People.
The way that me and Kurt deal with grief is through dark humor. The day after my father died, we did a Bromigo stream, and we did nothing but dead dad jokes the entire time. The day after Kurt's father passed away, we also did a Bromigos, and it was the same thing, because that's how we got through it, is being over the top dark humor that is very inappropriate for the situation going on. And so it's just how I kind of process, and it's my trauma response, is to say the most awful thing possible that is at the worst time possible, because that's what me and my buddy used to do together.
After my dad died, when we would get the sales calls or whatever, is Ken Ard there? Is Papa NASCAR there? Like, he's dead. I just deadpan. Yeah, he's dead. And I got some twisted joy out of telling them that, because I was just lashing out.
Sure,
but he's dead, and they were just like click.
Yeah, my wife did the same thing when her mother passed away. Her mother had debts, and she had Medicare, so there was those issues of getting Medicare is hard, only slightly harder than getting rid of Medicare and closing the account. It's a mess. And they actually bought like 20 death certificates so they could send them out to anybody. And the way you said it, Joe, I think she got some what is the word, catharsis there of when somebody called like, she needs to pay this. Like, she's dead. Give me an address. I'll send you the effing death certificate right now. Just, sometimes people were like, I'm so sorry. And some people were like, we don't believe it. But I saw her punching a virtual punching bag, and it seemed to make her feel better.
Yeah.
What's weird to me, no judgment. This is I don't understand. There's a cell phone her mom had. They kept it for a while. I think they let one of the kids use it for a little bit or something, and it still was labeled mom. And she never changed it. And that's on her, right? She could have. And I don't understand that. Man, John. Sorry, go ahead, Phil.
No, I mean, using the phone is weird. Something I didn't do until this year was I still have my dad's number in my contacts. I wasn't ready to delete it.
Sure.
It was a big thing for me to because that was my final, I'm through this. And until I just said that, I didn't even think about removing Kurt's phone number from my contacts. I don't know if I will, man.
When my mom died, I'd occasionally send her number texts after my brother had disconnected it. And it would come back undeliverable, and then it didn't. And I was like, I better stop.
You better stop that right away.
Or not make it a Reddit thread.
Man.
It is different for everybody. For me, I like the logic of things, like take him out of the phone. It's almost like cleaning off layers from my brain to get to the good, right? That's the other thing I don't understand. At a funeral, all of a sudden they're the most perfect person in the world. I'm not saying they're not doing a funeral for Kurt. That's in my opinion great. Do whatever makes you feel right as a family. But I've always hated when somebody gets up there and they talk about somebody and like they're perfect. And that's just always an imbalance to me. And I don't say anything. It's not my place. But
maybe that should be your TikTok persona, is calling people out at funerals.
Now Charles is going to go write a script inspired by Wedding Crashers, but it's Funeral Crashers.
That's right. No, they did that in Wedding Crashers. Remember at the end? Oh man, no, because at the end, Will Ferrell, he weddings don't do it anymore, so he's been crashing funerals because it's a bigger aphrodisiac than weddings, man. Yeah.
John asks, will you remove Kurt from your Discord?
Nope.
No.
Yes, for me, but not from the groups. Like Joe and I both manage Wise and Nerdy. We're partners. If Joe wants to leave him, if people in the group want him there, fine.
I'm leaving him.
You know, I it's not like I'm offended by it. I'm not going to take away from other people because other people can one, you'd have to go look for it at a certain point, right? Like at DragonCon Digital Media Track, there's 400 or 500 people in there, so you would have to go find his name. Not a big deal. Now I'll take away his what is it? Jobs or whatever. Unless you be a moderator, unless you be a leader.
Roles.
Thank you.
His role doesn't afford him a ton in Wise and Nerdy, to be blunt.
Not that. I'm talking about like DragonCon. If he's got anything.
Oh, okay. Yes. Would it be inappropriate to have a betting pool to see how long he keeps playing Balatro?
Not in my opinion, but yeah. Because see, that's me. That's why are we different after somebody died? If he got sick and we knew that he may or may not pull through, but he's talking to us, we're gonna give him grief, right? It's what we do. Why would we not do that?
Well, that's what I'm saying with the dark humor. It's like, everyone can be upset that I said it, but actually, Kurt would find that joke really hilarious.
Yeah.
So, Charles, I've got a quick question for you.
Absolutely.
When you die, do you want it mandatory that all of your pallbearers wear hockey jerseys?
I'm never gonna die. I've tried to say this to everybody. You don't listen. There's not gonna be. Let me tell you. There's no funeral. There's no nothing. You guys can have your own podcast.
Yeah. What do you? Hold on. What do you want?
Laugh about me.
Tell us what you want. We have time to do this.
We're gonna mummify him and stick him in a jersey and put him in front of the camera, and he'll just keep podcasting.
Hey, you know what, Ard?
I am down.
Ard, he'll get the same amount of downloads. You know.
See, Bing gets it. Bing gets it.
So what do you want us to do? You want us to go out and play Borderlands 2 as we all drink scotch and Dr. Pepper?
No, Phil.
Is that going to be the first time that Joey here drinks is once you finally die?
Okay, if that's what it takes, I might fake my death. But
I got a guy for
no,
you.
Phil,
I know
you gotta play
man.
and finish Borderlands 3. What you gotta do? Yeah, so you better keep me alive.
Me and Joe,
While you're playing through to beat that game, you've got to keep the movie Borderlands on loop until you finish Borderlands 3. So
looks like I'm going first, buddy.
Yeah. So TV's Travis is in. Hey, Travis. But yeah, whatever it takes for you to process through. I do caution people. There's a class of person who holds on to that death like it was yesterday forever. And it hurts them every time they talk about it. And I was talking to Mike Witter about it today. And I said, I don't know why I'm this way, but I get triggered when people do that. Like every time they talk about it, it's the same level of grief as it was the day it happened. Not a lower level, not a special moment like the Eagles winning the Super Bowl.
Go Birds.
Go Birds. I get certain moments like I've always done it with my dad. I've always whatever. Yeah, I got you. But that level of, and then I realized what the trigger was. And my entire life, I never knew my mom's father, because the story is when she was a little girl, he walked out and never came back. But I realized every time she mentioned his name, she only told that one story, and she cried uncontrollably every single time. And I was like, by the time I'm sitting here today, that was 60 something years ago.
Well,
when are we going to let that grief go away and handle our lives?
Well, no. Hold on, Joe. Joe, there is no question. That's just completely unprocessed grief because they have never done any work to get past that first initial shock to the system. My sister is still doing this about my father, and it's been 6 years because she refuses to go out and talk to somebody. She refuses to really recognize what's going on. My niece is the same way about my dad. Like, they kind of hit that wall of, I don't know what the heck to do. And then so they've decided to do nothing. So they relive that Saturday every time. And it just so happened to be your birthday that they are most traumatized on, Charles. But that's what it is. It's just like they've done none of the work on themselves to get past that window.
But so when it comes to, like, for instance, my parents, I lost my dad at 16. I lost my mom, a few years later. And in general, I can talk about that without getting very emotional. But there are times where it still comes to the surface. It just happens. Like, and that happens not just with my parents, but that happens like. Okay, so I was trying to gauge what you're trying to say there, because there's different times where I do get emotional thinking about different people that I've lost. Whereas, like, 99% of the time I can talk about them and remember things about them without getting hyper emotional. But there's occasionally, depending on the circumstances, it comes up. It brings up heavy emotion.
So let's
like Joseph Smith.
No.
Phil nailed it. Is about the unprocessed grief. So to paint a better picture, we can tell Papa NASCAR stories on here, and you'll laugh, and you'll know how to tell a story, and you'll bring the Bobcat up again to get you out of some bad situations. But the only time you've gotten emotional about it is when we did the Father's Day show. That was pre-show. That was the one that said we have to make this a real show. Was Joe had a great Father's Day story for our patron-only show at the time, and that's when he got emotional about it. That I get, because you're really diving into what that person meant to you. I'm not talking about that. I am talking about if we even said Papa NASCAR, you're like, I keep talking about it every single time.
Got it. Someone who gets triggered just thinking about them in general.
Yeah, and what I realized is exactly what Phil said is you're either you're in one form or another, you're choosing to do nothing, and I want everybody to have a good life, and that does mean processing the grief. Just because they're dead doesn't make them a saint. They can have been bad people and done bad things, but you can still love them, and they can still have been good people at the same time doing good things. And for my wife, it took like 6 years for her to get to where she could talk and tell stories about her. Like on Mother's Day, she told a story about her mom without crying. That was a first.
See, I could be completely off base, but my assumption when it comes to people like that is they are afraid to let go of the grief because they fear that if they let go of the grief, they'll forget them. That's my assumption, and it's probably an incorrect assumption, but that's how I view those people.
And I totally go the other way, right? I take out the insignificant things in my life, and then I do things I think they'd laugh at. This week, like maybe Wednesday, my wife had taken out my daughter to get a haircut. They're both getting haircuts, and I guess they decided to have a girls' day, and my daughter was getting nails done, and my wife hadn't done her nails in forever. And she's like, "Oh, they're so expensive." I'm like, do it. You haven't done it forever. It makes you happy. It's what Kurt would have wanted. And she goes, "Oh my God, there's something wrong with you." Like, Kurt would have laughed at that. He would have laughed at that. And so I do stuff like that. But in the right audience.
Travis wants to know if he can join. Can he hop in for a moment?
If there's a link, we can shoot him.
All right.
Fun fact, Kurt loves getting his nails done. So just not the nails you think.
His pinky toe? Just the pinky toe.
Joe knows.
Yeah. Go ahead and roll some dice while we are. Are you sending? Do I need to send the link to Travis?
I sent it to Travis.
Okay, gotcha.
So, all right.
Why is he not wearing any pants?
It's what Kurt would have wanted. Phil.
That's why he never went to visit Joe.
Right?
It's because of one awkward.
Oh no.
All right, I'm sorry. We talked over it. What's all right? There's TV's Travis. He wants to say something. I think you're on the wrong microphone, sir.
Am I?
Yep.
How's that? Is that better?
There it is.
That's way better.
Jesus Christ, Travis.
You're not wearing your hat. I don't know if you're allowed to be here right now without your hat. Just saying.
No, I don't.
My head's not the right shape anymore. It's weird. No, I just wanted to jump in. I just wanted to. Kurt was one of those guys that, you know, I had him on my show a couple times, and I was just talking about this earlier. Like, he brought, in terms of discussing movies, he brought things that I never would have watched on my own that I should have. And I loved him for that. But he was just always such a positive voice. And I loved the conversations I had with Kurt anytime I did. Or when he would just pop into my stream just to say hi. I get like a run by Kurt sighting. Like, he would just show up, he would say something, and then he'd be gone before I could respond to it. But it's remembering the people that is important. And you were kind of talking about that just before I jumped on. Like, the idea of, you know, this is what Kurt would want, or this is what so-and-so would want. And that is really important, because once you're gone, like, when I'm dead, I'm not going to care anymore. Right. I'm not going to care what y'all do because I'm not there. But
right,
knowing that I can have that kind of an impact, and Kurt had that impact on people. And that's huge. That's his impact on people was like my journey to get into better shape and to lose some weight. Huge influence on that was Kurt and what he went through and what he did. So that was, you know, it's still so recent and it's so hard to think about, but at the same time, like, man, he had such an impact on so many people.
Yeah. And I want to flip that too. When you said it's what they wanted, that should only go for the positive. I have seen in my wife's life where her and other family members were asked just crazy things like, after my death, you got to do this. I'm like, no, you don't. That's all negative, and you don't want to do it. It's not benefiting anybody. Lean into the positive. Is you know, I think his family is not having a funeral because it's not what he wanted, right? It's not how they wanted to remember him. They're going to do a celebration of life later on, which I love. I've never quite understood the delay on it, but also I kind of did, because there's a lot of business with death. There's so much to handle when somebody passes away. It can be overwhelming. And he was so tight with his family. I mean, all his daughter is doing is posting pictures of him, and that's how she's processing, right? It's a lot. That's a lot. But,
I need to make a list of some of the worst anime I've ever watched and get Charles to promise me to watch it after I die.
It's just, you could just
sure.
It's redundant. You could have just said watch anime.
Let's just we'll pinky toe swear on it. Sure.
With your painted pinky toes.
Yeah. All right. So what did you roll, Joe?
What are you nerding out about?
Ah, got you. So, Travis, we talked about this before the episode started. We're nerding out about the stuff that Kurt routinely nerded out about. Except me, I'm Captain Cranky Pants, because he always had to bring this. God, I love him, but I hate him so much for this. He always had to be like, well, if you just, I don't know why I went Ronald Reagan on Kurt. If you just listen to the kids and you give them love, they grow up healthy. Like, shut up, Captain Positive. So I'm going to poop on the things that he liked, but everybody else is going to do it. So, Joe, what do you want to go with on your nerding out here?
I'm going to go with Andor, season 1, just for you, Charles.
Oh, my God. Of course you you are.
I haven't actually watched season 2 yet, but oh man! So when I watched Andor season 1, my wife and I watched the first episode, and we're like, I don't know. It didn't really grab us. So then we went and watched a couple other series, and then we're like, well, the whole thing's out now. Should we go back and watch it? And it was like episode 3, it really clicked, and I was like, okay, this is good, and I ended up liking it a lot. And now the final episodes of season 2 dropped earlier this week, and I'll go watch it, and I bet it's awesome. I bet it's awesome.
I need to watch season 2, but season 1 of Andor was some of the best Star Wars that I've ever watched.
Wow! Wow! You hear that?
That's not a really high bar.
You hear that?
High bar.
No, here's why. Because it's not Jedi or Skywalker related. It's expanding and exploring the rest of the universe and things that are ancillary to that. And I love that. I love like doing all of that kind of stuff.
Like what some of the normal people were dealing with in the aftermath.
Nah, Big Poppy only likes space wizards. Give me my space wizards.
No,
with their big light swords.
Overrated. Star Wars is highly overrated.
Hold on, Charles. What do you hate more? Do you hate Star Wars or Lord of the Rings more?
I don't hate either of them because you actually have to love something to hate something. So I don't. Whatever. But that's the thing. That's when I talk about hating Kurt. I did love Kurt, but he couldn't let you not like something he liked. So when he brought up Andor, I'm like, I tried the first episode. I was like, oh no, man, you got to go watch. Now you just tell me what to do. Now I'm not gonna. And I watched.
I'll tell you, the first episode, I didn't. I was like,
I say the same thing for the first season because I watched all of it, waiting for something to happen, and it doesn't. So I just don't. I don't get it. I'm not gonna poop on your parade, except when you try to make me like it. So then I'm gonna poop all over. But that's But
you would have liked it if Michael Bay made it. That's all I'm saying.
There is a moment.
But he didn't, so I didn't.
Andor, though, there is a moment in season 1 that feels so like. There's an Andy Serkis moment, especially, that feels so real and so human that I'm questioning, Charles, if you have a soul at this point.
No, he's a bootlicker and doesn't understand what it means to uprise against anything. He would rather just be oppressed, lick that yummy boot, and keep going.
I'm sorry. Star Wars is let's make the galaxy great again to me. That's all I'm saying. I don't get it. I'm not in on it.
Ooh, shots fired.
Blaster's fired.
So, Joe, you went with Andor. Phil, what's your...
Well, here's the thing. I'm going a little bit off your stupid script because I didn't like the way it was going. I've been listening. So what I was going to do is we were actually about to start recording episodes for my new show that I was trying to launch. And Kurt was part of that season. So I've been listening to the record that he has picked for that season. I've been listening to it pretty much since Monday, and I've decided I'm just going to do a solo episode on that record and not replace it or just cut it from the lineup. So I've been listening to a lot of Beatles this week because that's what Kurt, that was one of his favorite bands, and it's the one record that he picked is a little obscure and not part of the studio lineup. It was more of a compilation cut. And it's been really fun, and I now understand exactly, from his barbershop quartet kind of ways on why this compilation, he fell in love with it. So I've been listening to the Red Album a lot by the Beatles.
Nice. That's great.
I know you just popped in, Travis. Do you happen to have one?
Honestly, what I'm nerding about right now is the Detroit Tigers in the Major League Baseball season, because for the first time in a long time, they're worth nerding out about. So that's been my thing lately.
It's not even the All-Star break, man.
I don't fucking care.
Hey, we don't curse on this show.
Sorry, I don't care.
Now you owe Charles $5.
It's a long suffering fan. To have any team worth cheering about is a big thing.
29-15. That's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
No, not bad for pre-All-Star break.
This is nerd talk of sports ball. We don't do the sports ball.
You can
here.
nerd
Sports ball. Baseball's the nerdiest sport out there. My guy with all the math and stats. I don't understand things, so I use cringy words like sports ball.
Go Birds.
That's you.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Yeah, that's right. I guess my nerding out about is how many freaking times he talked about Balatro or 3D printing. I'm surprised he didn't 3D print Joker cards from Balatro, to be honest. And I never quite understood his perspective on certain things because he was not an educator. He was a passionate guy. But like, okay, I like Balatro too. He's, oh, you'll love this. Every time, about 1 in 5 times that he told me I'd love something, he's right. He was, what is that, batting, par
the batting average?
I don't know.
It goes a line.
Yeah. So he hit a hockey puck or whatever. I don't know. But Balatro I do love. But I always ask, okay, how do you do this? How do you? He can never tell me. He can never tell me how to build up a better strategy, how to do things. But by God, he loved that game. And I will tell you to this day, or not this day, but to the end of time, I will never forget Joe. This year he started really 3D printing stuff and putting stuff up on his wall, and he's redecorating his studio and whatnot, right? And I don't know why he did it, but he 3D printed an Iron Man that's kind of half looking up, then put a Spider-Man in a squat position like he's swinging right above him, so it looks like Iron Man is trying to look at Spider-Man's skirt. And I asked him about it, and he made some weird comment about, well, he's got Hulk on his foot. I'm like, what does that even mean? He jumped off a Hulk. I'm like, all right, we're just gonna move on with the show. I have no, I don't know.
Man, and Kurt never. If he decided he liked something, he went full in on it. He did not do anything halfway. Once he decided he liked it, it was just.
Look at his marriage.
Everything.
The first girl he liked, he married for 50 freaking years, just about. Good on him. He's, yeah. And we'll say that for the after show. So I'm sorry. There's some things I don't feel comfortable that I don't think the world will understand what I'm saying when
Text
I say
me.
it. But
Text me. Text it to me.
Well, I mean, it's up for everybody. But,
Maybe I'll say it.
If you want to find out what it is for the after show, patreon.com/wise_head_.
Sign up and pledge today. It's what Kurt would have wanted.
Which now that I'm talking about it briefly, we mentioned the logo rework. The versions that we currently have and that we've been working on that include homages to Kurt, we are going to end up putting on Patreon as posts there eventually.
Discussed, not argued. Discussed.
Yeah, discussed, argued, same difference.
Not when you're being contrary pre-show. We got to be very specific about our words.
Yeah, the pre-show, I was getting a lot of arguing out of the way
we
during
both had a
pre-show.
little bit of tampons lit on fire.
Oh man, I guess if that's your thing.
But yeah, so no, it's not my thing.
It's what Kurt would have wanted.
Oh no!
We got to make that T-shirt though this year. Oh my God. So yeah, roll the dice. Let's see where we're gonna go next.
Well,
I will say that Kurt's. While I've never been into the quartets, his quartet, man, they could put some music together. They were pretty solid. He really loved singing.
Yes, he did.
There is nothing
Daddy,
quite
tell me a story.
quartet.
What was that, Trav? Sorry,
I was just gonna say there's nothing quite like the harmonies of a good barbershop quartet. Like they just
and with Kurt, there was nothing like a good harmony with his. No, I'm sorry.
Oh man,
so story time.
Yes,
personal story time.
Yes, Mike rubbing it in.
Shut up, Mike.
Shut up, Mike.
All right. Who would like to go first?
Oh, the first time I met Kurt was at Dragon Con. the 2017 Dragon Con, the one that all the giant size team up people went to. And man, at that point, I wasn't doing anything with Kurt. Actually, really, until Wise and Nerdy, I didn't do anything with Kurt. I think I had been on one of the movie episodes that you guys used to do for what was that? Behind the Helicarrier. Yeah, one of the round tables. Breaking the Panel.
It was Breaking the Panel, you disrespectful child.
God, I was hoping for a $5 payout right there.
Nah. I'm making my money.
But man, Kurt at that first Dragon Con, he just was awesome. Like, it didn't matter what the composition of the group was. He meshed so well just because that was his personality. It didn't matter who he was talking to. He was so personable and had so much charisma and just is a straight up awesome dude that he fit in with everybody. And so that was my first impression of Kurt, and it's a pretty accurate impression of Kurt, in my opinion.
First time I met Kurt in person was at 2017 Dragon Con. And you know what Kurt really loves? It's beer. Before he started his hard 75 journey, which, by the way, I'm never exercising anymore.
Right.
To heck with that.
The lesson I learned is stay fat and safe.
Oh my God, right? Before he got in shape, he was a big dude. And the Botch Boys had this really run down Airbnb, and we made Kurt sleep on the couch. But Kurt loved beer. And so we just planned on getting a couple cases and whatnot. And Kurt's like, you know, what we should do is go out there and get a keg for the house so we always have beer on hand. And I was like, yeah, let's do that, man. Let's do that. I am all for this. And then unfortunately, Kurt's also from New England, and he got the worst possible beer in the Sam Adams pumpkin ale because that's what he loved drinking so much. And so look, don't get me wrong. I love a Sam Adams pumpkin in October and November, right? And I like to have 2 of them. So this is high heat August, and I'm trying to slam this pumpkin beer. We didn't even get through half of the keg with 7 or 10 of us drinking out of it, right? And Kurt's just there the whole time pumping it and drinking it when everyone else is like, we're going out there to just buy cocktails, man, because I can't drink any more of this terrible beer. And Kurt's like, it's still good. I don't know why you guys don't want to have any of this, right? And so by the end of it, he took it down under halfway by just himself. And it was just like, geez Louise. And that we had a big party in that house with like 20-some people there, 30-some people there.
She was 6 foot at the time.
Oh, man, it was a mess of a house, but we all had such a good time. And good old Kurt convincing us to get a beer just so that he didn't have to go out there and get his own beer. He convinced us to get he just manipulated us to get the beer he wanted, so he didn't have to go to the store while we're all getting, Miller Lights and PBRs. He's like, these idiot kids. I felt like I was in high school again, being tricked by this freshman in college, right? Oh my God.
That is a professional move right there.
Oh my God.
He was so tired all weekend though, because that year you guys were up until like 5 a.m. every morning, and he was down in the living room like you said. I was happy that I got one of the rooms. Dennis and I shared a room, and I just put my air mattress, set it up. I'm like, all right, I'm sleeping here.
This is before Swan came down, Charles, because Chris Wisdom, he found a small storage closet, right? That was like a hair. He put a mattress in there and built pillows up to block everything out. Yeah.
I remember the house. I just don't remember who was there.
Well, and that was when early version of Botched with a A couple,
Everybody.
yeah. They
Austin
went.
and John.
Yeah, those two.
That's
And,
the year
um,
Austin got drugged, and he was on Molly or whatever. Because
That was 2016. Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
because I only came down for that Sunday.
because Austin was dancing in the living room while Kurt was sleeping on the couch with music blasting. Because I remember Kurt telling me that story. He's like, I can't sleep at the Botch house anymore because they stayed up till like 6 a.m. dancing and stuff. He didn't tell me about the beer though.
Yeah.
Oh
Put
man.
up Forging Winton there.
The big one. All right.
Yeah, Bean says, I remember my first time meeting Kurt at 2019 Dragon Con. He asked me how I felt about the Breaking the Panel show. Go on. Please tell us what you answered him. But then he didn't answer that question because at the time, I felt like nobody around all these more successful podcasters. Again, Bean, what do you mean at the time? Yeah, but please tell the rest of the story. But that's how Kurt was. He was, honestly, I'd like to think that's how all of us are. Is
You got two
at Dragon
hands.
Con.
Stroke your own ego, my guy. I didn't say it was worth $5.
Travis,
Dude.
I'm going to do what Phil told me to do. Have I appeared on your show more than Kurt?
Oh.
No.
No, you haven't. No, you haven't. Kurt's been on there twice.
You've been on
No,
twice.
I've been on
Kurt's
three
been
times.
3 times. Kurt, I've had Kurt 3 times because we talked about like one of the things about Kurt that I always remember is he came on the first time we talked about the Maltese Falcon, which I had never seen before, and it was bonkers that I hadn't seen that, and I watched it, and I couldn't believe how good it was. Like, that's one of those movies that you always hear about on those like top lists of best movies, best noir films. And then I watched it and I'm like, you people undersold this. This is really good. And we spent a good portion of that episode doing a fan casting of like a modern remake of the Maltese Falcon, which at the time I wanted to have Jonathan Majors as Sam Spade. It maybe changed that a little bit since then. He's had some trouble, but like, I still feel like Jonathan Majors would have been a great choice to play that character. But that was the thing. Like Kurt and I just going back and forth talking about modern actors to play characters in this movie that was 80 years old at the time. And it was just so much fun to talk about. Also, Rami Malek as the Peter Lorre character. Because I'm sorry, he would be perfect.
Side note, you need to have Tyra on your show because I think she would bring a very interesting movie and perspective.
I've had her on once. I'll have her on again.
I'm
At
sorry,
this
Tyra.
point,
I did not realize she'd been. Must have been before I started
Everybody
listening.
here has been on, and Tyra's been on, and no, absolutely, everybody's welcome back. You guys are all great.
I'm all right.
Well,
The
well,
fact
you
that
and
like
Amy
her
are
more than me.
coming
I don't know.
because we've got more Wes Anderson to go through.
I know. I'm contractually obligated. I'm here just so I don't get fined.
Well, I just have to figure out how emotionally devastated I am.
Go pretty hard.
Joe put on, Tyra says, I can't remember when I met Kurt, but he was on my AI panel in 2023. I remember wanting to cry when he sent me a children's story he wrote with AI.
And that's the thing, because he was worried about that panel. But he knew exactly what he was going to do. He's like, I'm going to be the only person on that panel that's going to be pro AI. And you know what? I don't care. Bring it on.
Yeah. I don't remember when I first met Kurt either. From the Helicarrier was the original show that Ibbott and I did that really took off. Well, I'd done some other stuff before that got me notoriety in the podcast world, but that show got a wide public audience. And Kurt started sending in stuff. That's kind of how he came into Ibbott and I's life, I believe, is just being in the chat room, contributing. And I remember one time going, who is this guy? Because all he really talked about in the chat was he's in a quartet and barbershop this and that. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then he used that show in the chat, because we always talked about the chat stuff during that show, to ask Emmett if Emmett would do a Coverville that's only barbershop quartets, or start a no. It was, would Emmett start a show with him that was all barbershop quartet covers? I'm like, who the blank are you? That is a dumb. Don't come at Emmett that way. But he was just that. You miss every shot you don't take, and he came on when we transitioned from the original game from the helicarrier to the second game that they made. He came on and was a regular on that with Ibbot and I. And was there? I can't remember if there was another time that he worked with Ibbot and I, but he was doing some good. That's what it was. He was doing some really good content on that second game, and so Ibbot and I brought him as a regular, and that's just kind of how we started working. I remember sitting in my driveway over at the other old house in a mid-afternoon, calling Kurt and telling him, "Hey, we'd like to have you on the show." And you would have thought I was Netflix offering him a 10-season deal. You know, he was just so excited, and I have never regretted a decision more. But no, that's not true.
Are you sure, bud?
Nah,
I'm sitting right here.
I'm sitting here thinking
You're Tyler
about
Durden. I can't get rid of you.
I'm sitting here thinking about that first Dragon Con that we did Wise and Nerdy at, and you had Kurt sit on the panel, and you trolled him so hard because you had him prep the intro to do it live. And then you played the version of the intro where Mike is saying it, and he just shot you the dirtiest look.
Okay,
he was just about to start talking.
We need to, Joe. I'll try to do this tomorrow. We need to find the video of that because we were in the main room, so it was recorded and streamed, and see if I can just cut out that moment and zoom in on his face, so everybody can watch that clip, and we'll put it out the places. Because yes, so that's the other thing. He's a planner. He does not like, which you wouldn't know it by Wise and Nerdy, but he does not like to just show up and wing it. He wants to know all this other stuff. So I kept saying, dude, you're just gonna do the segment titles. Well, if you can send me something like, I sent it to you like a year ago and you recorded it all. You have the list. And it's not what it is now. It's not is what do you love instead of nerding out. And it's some other things. Like, it's easy. I'm just gonna tap you on the arm. You do the voiceover thing. It's the easiest thing I can think of. And so he irritated me with that because I'm not a planner, as Tyra will tell you. I love just to show up and bring chaos. I'm chaotic neutral, but you'd think I'm a little evil sometimes. And so, yeah, I absolutely told Joe, I am 100% going to put the pressure on him. I was like, get it right. You're doing the intro live. Okay, you want me to plan? Here's the plan. And I just cranked. I mean, I'm telling you, I laid on the pressure. And he was sweating. And the music keys up. About time he goes, oh, Mike's voice comes out of the speakers, and it was the best evil feeling I could ever have. It was so funny.
Oh man!
But it's okay. But yeah,
we used to run this stream called the Bromigos of the Streampocalypse together.
Oh, you guys got me back on that one.
Oh, buddy. If you want to see four grown men argue about a video game as they play it and nobody's having fun, this would have been the most perfect stream for you. We would bring on guests and then torture them and not tell them that we all actually hate each other. And oh my God,
Sea of Thieves, worst game.
So hold on.
Just because you don't know how to pick a lock and get out of the jail.
You can't pick the lock in the jail. We put him in the brig for the entire stream.
3 hours, Joe. 3 hours.
We invited him on to guess with us, and then Kurt came to me. He's like, it would be really funny if we brigged him for the entire stream so he doesn't get to play. And I said, oh my God, we're doing it. It's such
funny now.
It's such a bad move. But so you all have to vote to brig, right? And he can't get out until we vote to take him out. And so we bring him in. We have him help us load this ship up, which takes like 20 minutes. And I'm explaining the game to Charles and how it works. And each person has this job that's specific to help the boat move on together.
But because Klotz, who doesn't want to tell anybody anything.
Oh my God. And so we get everything ready and we all vote to brig. And we set sail as he's just complaining and cursing in the brig. And then right at the end of the stream, we set the boat on fire and we call it a night.
So there was a few times like, all right, so I'm like, I'm on camera. I don't turn around. I'm like, I'm pissed. I'm just sitting there bored. I'm not doing anything. I'm like pouting. Like, okay, we'll let you out. I get out for like 30 seconds, and I'm walking off the ship, and then boom, right back into the brig. It's like, oh, it was the worst.
Oh man.
And I swore to never go back to that show again.
And then there was one time where Paul Klotz and Kurt were fighting from the week before. And so Kurt came up with the idea of doing anti-comedy the entire time because he knew it would annoy Paul so much. So, like, you would think, if you're not having fun, why are we still doing these streams? That never dawned to us.
Yeah.
And so kind of like Norm Macdonald during the one of the Comedy Central roasts, he did the most terrible deadpan crappy comedy out there, knowing that each joke he said just dug the knife a little bit deeper into Paul's chest. And I couldn't be a happier little pig on that stream, man. I loved it. The Bro-Migos of the Streampocalypse. What a crap show.
It was the worst. It was the
So anyway, this
worst.
Sunday at 8 p.m., the Streampocalypse of the Bro-Migos is returning. We will be playing Seas of Thieves. Check it out, 9 o'clock, twitch.tv/Bromigos. We're getting Slobin's last sail in before we set him off into the moon. So check that out. You want
hard pass.
Okay. It's your loss.
Yeah, no, my loss. Because if I go, hey, I'll fill in for Kurt. What
Oh,
are you
yeah,
gonna do? What are you gonna do? Put me in the brig.
We have an opening for you.
I'll show up. I've got a show to record that night, but I'll show up after.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to join us, Charles.
No,
I don't think Kurt's gonna mind.
You're gonna yell. It's what Kurt would have wanted. You'd be right. So, not walking into that. Oh my god! All right, roll some dice. I've opened another beer. We're down
so
to
sweaty.
3 more beers.
Stay tuned for this commercial break.
Oh,
It's what Kurt would have wanted. Commercial break.
Too soon, Joe. Have some respect.
Jesus, Joe. Come on,
Come on,
guy.
Joe. Jesus. All
My
right.
bad.
Praise him.
So
I should have called in sick.
that was too soon. Oh my god. Oh shit. I think you broke me with that one, Joe. Oh no. No, just fuck the music. Oh my
I broke him. Oh no.
I know that's buzzer on random. But... oh my god, I can't stop laughing. That's so wrong. If it wasn't random, it wouldn't be funny. Oh my god. Oh Lord. Hey. Patreon.com.
boy.
Patreon.com/wise_n_nerdy. Let me tell you. I don't even think Joe knows this, but for over the last, I guess, Kurt's gone through 2 Christmases with us. He came on late. I want to say 2023, mid-20. But I've basically, through the money that we make with the show, I have sent Kurt a decent amount of money. Not that he asked for it or anything, but I always go with a feeling. And there were just times when I was like, man, I think it just feels right. And I would send him a little money, or at Christmas, like I've always bonused Joe out. Not that I run the company, but I just thought it was nice. And there have been times Joe and I have talked about things, but once we transitioned from Pokemon Go to Wise and Nerdy, the income definitely fell off. So we do the business thing, we keep it for the cons and whatnot. But there was definitely times when I sent Kurt money, and this last year, and to me, it's not a lot. It was I think $150 is what I sent him.
Yes, it was.
I even put in a note, Christmas bonus or Merry Christmas, something like that. He's like, "What?" I mean, it just hit so well with him, and he was like, "Oh my God, why'd you send that?" I was like, "We like you, man. Merry Christmas. It's from the show. It's to let you feel a part of what we're doing." Because that was important to me. Because there were some other issues. I get why some people don't get up at a funeral and say, "This dude was a piece of crap," but because you're remembering the good times. But it very much, he's not a piece of crap. That's not what I'm saying. But I want him to feel more included, and it really did hit well. And so yeah, Patreon, send us some more money. We'll use it wisely. I promise. That button push broke me, Joe. That was just, oh my God.
You're welcome.
All right. Next.
Nope, done that one. There we go. Just for you, Charles.
Oh no.
Dad joke.
All right, before we start telling the bad dad jokes, I want to tell this story. I think Kurt had guessed it. I don't think he was a member of the show. I can't quite remember, Joe, where it was in the mix. But we were in the post-show Patreon recording. And Kurt just starts telling the story of a work trip and going to this restaurant. And just it was easily 5 minutes long. And me and Joe are like, just eating it up. Like, he's telling us a story. I honestly don't remember the bad dad joke punchline, but something about
I do.
What was the punchline? What was it?
So it was something like you had to do a contest and like throw something up on the shelf, and if you knock it down, then you got free steak.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And he threw as hard as he could, and he just couldn't quite reach it. And then the punchline was, the stakes were too high.
Oh, okay. The stakes were too yeah. But he really set it up. And he really went. And I'm like listening to this story because he told it so well. And it's quite possibly the best bad dad joke ever that's only on Patreon. I don't even remember what episode it was. And it broke me. I was so angry with him. I was so mad. Because I thought he was telling a real story. Oh my God. And he just did it well. And he was like,
it was one of the episodes in December of 2023. Because he commented on it in Discord. So it would have been mid to late December 2023.
I'm sorry, Travis, are we boring you to death, sir?
No, not at all. I've just been up for too long.
I was giving you grief. So I do get a little snarky when I'm dealing with stuff. Yeah, the universe has a freaking purpose, Joe. Anyway, all right. Freaking Kurt. I think Joe likes bad dad jokes more, to be honest. But Kurt really dug deep. I think he tried to use them as a knife. It was his humor. Everybody's like, he's a great guy. He had such wisdom. He was so full of positivity. That was a lie. He loved using his humor to stab people, specifically me. He got so much joy out of bringing me pain with these bad dad jokes.
Well, and one of the things he loved in the Discord is playing off of other people's bad dad jokes, keeping the joke running.
Mm-hmm.
So this one comes to us from KCJ. Says, I bought some shoes from a drug dealer. I don't know what he laced them with, but I've been tripping all day.
Casey.
And then Kurt responds, just another example of how the shoe must go on. Like the show must go on.
No, yeah, don't explain it.
You
it makes
get
it worse. It makes
And then I responded, be careful buying shoes from drug dealers. It will hurt your soul.
Phil, now you know why I need to do a rated R show with you just to cleanse my palate every week.
Then Casey got back in full circle for a full circle. Says, well, they do say before you insult someone to walk a mile in their shoes. Then when you do insult them, you'll be a mile away and you'll have their shoes. Nothing. Nothing.
No, nothing. I mean,
Sorry,
Travis is
Joe.
chuckling.
Yeah. Sometimes the hardest tea to swallow is reality, Joe.
Travis,
Charles doesn't need shoes. He doesn't exercise.
I'm terrible with dad jokes. I'm not a dad. I don't have dad jokes.
I'm a dad, and I tell adult level jokes to my kids.
You hate dad jokes though, so I get it.
Where do pirates get their hooks from? A second-hand store, Charles, because it's the second hand they're gonna get. It's a hook, Charles. You get it? It's funny. Roll the dice, you idiot.
See, this is why Joe tells the jokes. Joe brings the pleasure. He laughs before he even tells the punchline. You're just an angry little go birds.
Joe's a little baby, and all we have to do is put a mirror in front of him to entertain himself with.
All right,
Wow.
random kid had a great one there. Charles has dad jokes. His wife gave birth to him. I've actually used that joke in my house when my kids they try to tell a joke, and I was like, it's a good thing you're pretty, or it's a good thing you can cook, because obviously it's not a funny joke. Well, oh yeah, you tell me a joke. I'm like, I made you. There's the punchline. And they get all hurt and go talk to a therapist. Whatever.
There's no comeback for that. Like you got nothing at that point.
Nah. I'm constantly.
Don't give me that look, Phil. I see that.
I'm trying to save my $5, and you're setting me up so well for things, bud.
Oh man.
Nope.
Here for it's what I'm here for.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, should we move on, Charles?
Yes, please.
Council of Dads.
Unless you have more that Kurt wrote or put in that haven't been told yet.
All the other ones, Kurt, we've already used on the show.
Right, okay. Council of Parliament of Papas. What other segments do we have? We
This
might
is
save
it.
this one for last.
This is
the
it?
last
This is
segment?
the last
Okay.
one.
Holy
Yeah.
crap. I actually got 2 more beers to go through.
Well,
Excuse me.
You got 5
you got
minutes.
2
bud.
hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what we wanted to do here was, we always tongue in cheek try to solve the problems of the world. And, Kurt made a gavel. And it's beautiful. And
That you'll never get. It will never be yours.
you know what? That was the thing I wasn't going to say earlier, Joe. That was the thing. I was like, we're never going to get our gavels now. All right. Thanks for
You
being
get
an asshole.
nothing.
So, but this is
You
instead of
lose.
instead of trying to solve a problem of the world, we have had many of you call in speak pipes and put on
Or leave comments on Discord.
Exactly. So that is what this is going to be. And then before, we don't just want to play the last one. Let me know when we get to Devo. So we got one last thing to say before we play that. But Devo site one foreshadowed how sad his freaking voicemail is going to be because he wasn't played last, like the outro for the show. But 2, I don't want to be sad anymore, Devo. Anyway, so let's play some speak pipes and read some comments and share from there.
All right. Let's go ahead and start with Steven.
Hey, friends, it's your old pal Steven here calling because I was looking at this question of the week of, as a child, what did you wish to become when you grew up? Man, as far back as I can remember.
What? Steven, that is not what I was promised. Maybe if I let him continue, maybe it would actually get to Kurt. He wants to be Kurt when he grows up. Should I hit play on that and just let's listen? I don't know.
Yes, Joe.
Fine.
How many years have we worked
friends, it's
together?
your old pal Steven.
Now we got to
here
start it
calling
over because I
was looking at
can't.
this
I
question
can't
of the week.
zoom through.
As a child, what did you wish to become when you grew up? Man, as far back as I can remember, when I first wanted to be something, and I knew that was a concept, I'd been watching a lot of Dragnet. Now, this might not surprise you because I'm kind of an old man in a young man's body, but I watched a lot of Dragnet when I was 5 or 6, and I wanted to be a detective. My mom said, you can't do that. You might get shot at, and I'll worry about you all the time. So I switched up and said, I want to be a comedian. Then I wasn't very funny, or at least that's what my dad told me many years later. It wasn't funny.
Smart
and I was like,
dad.
okay. So then, like most kids, I grew up a little bit, wanted to be a rock star. And while I wanted to be a rock star, I built a website for my band and a bunch of other stuff, and got into computers while being a guitar person. Still wanted to be a rock star, then wanted to be a filmmaker. I went to school for that for a semester. And then it all came down to, hey, you can make money doing that computer stuff that you like to do. Really? That was a shock. I thought I was too dumb for that. And anyway, I became a computer guy and kind of still am. So yeah, thanks for going on that journey with me. You guys are amazing, and have a great night doing your show. It's wonderful. Bye.
All right, so I'm just gonna assume that he wants to be Kurt when he grows up.
Hold on, just for reference for your listeners under the age of 70, Dragnet was a show that aired from 1951 to 1959. Okay. It wasn't even in the 60s. It was a detective show in black and white.
Yeah.
True.
Friday, Sergeant Friday or something like that. So, because one, Odin, I haven't seen that name in a long time. Odin was a big time contributor as far as the chat to from the helicarrier, and we became Facebook friends, and I always smile when I see his name come up, and thanks for coming out for the Kurt Memorial tonight, man. Like and subscribe and stay, or I'm coming to find you. But to that point, Steven being an old man in a young person's body, I think he'd be the only person who could ever fill Kurt's shoes, because he is such an old soul and he's so uber positive. I've mentioned many times, like, I want him to be my Black Widow and talk me down from my Hulk rage sometimes. Like, hey, bud, I know you got big feelings going on right now, but, it's okay to have those big feelings. Like, you just make the world better, Daddy Steven.
I like to think that when he's off the internet, like and dealing with his family and his relatives, he's just
like
terrible
the baby from
person.
Roger Rabbit.
No, he's a terrible. He's a bad dad, right? He smokes Lucky Strikes.
Yeah, we know for certain, like, he is absolutely not that. But I want to picture Steven with, like, unfiltered Lucky Strikes and, like, a bottle of Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
Because that would be the most amazing thing to ever see.
This kid gets a fork. Sam, I think is his kid's name. I don't remember. Sam puts the fork, goes towards the plug, and Steven's like, yeah, he'll figure it out. Yeah, he'll only do it once.
By the way, I just want to say that Brian Ibbett sends along his best about Kurt and just all the good memories. He would be tuning in tonight if he wasn't getting ready for a trip.
That's honestly, truthfully, that's why I didn't tell him about this and didn't want to invite him, because I know he'd feel guilty because he's such a busy guy, and I knew he'd want to remember Kurt, but at the same time, I don't know. I just felt that when I was texting him, we didn't even bring it up. I was like, I just don't want to put a guilt or an imposition on anybody, because that's my thing. I try to live a guilt-free life. The guilt is the most BS thing you could ever have.
It shows.
Shut up. But yeah, Ibbett and Kurt were good people, and and Odin, I just give grief, man. Thank you for being in and being here tonight.
Absolutely.
All right, so I guess what's the next thing, Joey?
Well, that was thanks. Thanks for that email, Steven. You really nailed it right on the head on that one, big guy.
So this one comes to us from KCJ in Discord. Says, I feel like I lost a friend. His wisdom and humor accompanied me on my many commutes, and it's hard to process that he's gone. Praying for his family, especially his wife.
Yeah, it dawned on me like Wednesday. It took that long to realize it was Mother's Day when it happened. So that's just going to put an extra spike on everything for that family, and that sucks. And Casey's been around for a long time, and I'll be honest, I'm probably a little jealous of Kurt. He steals my limelight. Everybody loves Kurt. He steals my limelight, man. But no. But thanks, Casey.
Kurt didn't have to pass away for that to happen, but we always liked Kurt more than we liked you. We're very vocal about it, bud. We don't even hide behind anything. You're just too dumb to listen, my guy.
Look, I didn't want to say it. All right.
God damn it! The wrong Kurt died.
Oh, I get $5. Yes.
Oh my!
This show is a flaw. This show is stupid. Well, now that I've lost my money, I might as well go for broke.
No, don't be Betty.
Let's see. From the Digital Media Track Discord, Sean McKay says he was always so kind and supportive and willing to help even the small shows and hosts. Would always stop by our stream and chat with us, even if he was the only one there. Loved him. Heartbreaking.
So, to that point, I want to say, if you don't listen to me, listen to the Force Ghost that is Kurt now. There are no small shows and hosts. That is what the Digital Media Track is about. That's what all four of us is about. That's what Kurt was about. People are people, and we are creators that connect with each other, and we're always wanting to help. And Kurt was absolutely a shining beacon of that. And it just hits wrong when somebody calls themselves a small show or small podcast or unknown. You're a person, you matter. And Kurt made that an important part of his life.
Yep. Let's see. Rob Mulligan says, I didn't go to Dragon Con often, but Kurt always was kind and went out of his way to talk to me. Tyra, who's here in the chat, put in, Kurt was a caring, sweet man who always made me smile. He welcomed and helped people and would drop into our live stream on occasion. He always had a great comment. Life is too short. Tell people you love them.
He was short, but he always told people he loved them. So.
He was surprisingly short. I think it was 4'8" is where he actually came in. He had a real boisterous attitude and voice, but if you ever met Kurt in person, he was quite stout.
Yeah, he was a little teapot.
Teapot.
A bunch of people in the Discord just commented basically the same thing about being stunned and speechless, like Rob Roberts and Phaedra Black, and Kurt was amazing, and I have never heard anyone say a bad word about him.
Are you not listening?
So we're about to. Here we go.
Challenging.
Look, this is the asshat that put me in the brig for 3 hours. Have you not listened to the bad words coming out of my mouth?
That's not a bad word.
That's
not a bad thing that he did. It sounded like it was a great time.
Also, we were right not to trust you. This is the attitude you brought in. You're being a naughty pie.
And now on to something more serious from Tyler, aka the full run through. He sent in a speak pipe about Kurt.
I've already had my emotional breakdown. I'm going to try not to have one on this speak pipe, but I think I can genuinely say that just from the small interactions I've had, just from the one guest host appearance on the show alongside Kurt, that without a doubt, he was one of the kindest, most genuine people I have ever met or experienced in my life. And that's saying a lot. But if there's one thing I've learned over this past weekend from this experience and from my own personal experiences, it's that you should never have a conversation with someone that you would regret being your last conversation. Don't leave relationships, don't leave conversations, don't leave rooms without genuinely showing someone that you care about them. And I think Kurt did a great job of doing that, and I'm going to try to do it more in my own life.
Gotcha. I don't know what to say to that. Right? It's
No,
a very poignant point.
Spot on.
My last words to my dad were "you dingus." So,
But see, okay, to that point,
really funny though.
Some of us communicate in what the world would perceive a negative way, and that's how we tell you we love you. I told my son the other day to go F himself, and he's like, "Love you too, man." And like that's that's the thing sometimes. So you telling your dad you dingus, that is a very positive thing to say.
Oh no, I'm not upset about it, man. I'm pretty content with it.
All right, so the only one we got left is the one from Devo site. So you wanted to say something before we play that, right?
All I really wanted to say was Kurt made it, Quotey Fingers. When
He made Quotey Fingers? Wow, I didn't know he was that old.
Oh, we're going back to Contrary Joe. Cool. I got a couple more beers to go through, bud. Let's do this. And Phil, screw you for making me say bud all the time. You said it for like 6 months straight, and now I can't stop saying it.
Saying what?
Bud. You call me bud all the time.
All right, bud.
And now say it.
Just
See,
Okay, bud.
Travis, you're not supposed to feed the mogwai after midnight. Stop it.
Okay, bud.
All right.
Go, bud.
That's right, big guy.
But see, in the South, it's for old people who don't remember their grandkids' names. They call them Bud, and it makes me feel
Would you
old.
prefer to be called Buddy? Okay, Buddy.
You are smiling.
See, here's
And
the
I'm
thing.
smiling because I'm drinking, but my
Here's
soul
the
is not
thing, Joey.
smiling right
Joey,
now.
you got to remember your buffer of me and Travis ain't going to be here next week, man.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right.
Next week, I think we actually have Manny Faces on, but that's a whole different ball game. No, Kurt.
From He-Man?
No,
You guys were able to
Mano Faces.
You were able to book that dude from He-Man? Holy shit! That's a
toy.
cool
I'm just gonna bring up the toy and do Kurt's voice every time he hits the button to play Kurt's voice. That little toy's gonna pop up. That's all.
Oh, I'm just waiting for you to stop your yapping.
Oh my
Fair
God.
enough.
Oh my God. But there was some point in the last few years, and I'm pretty sure it's through the box community, that he got nicknamed Hot Gravy. Something about somebody said his voice was like hot gravy, and it just became this organic meme of him, right? And anytime anybody in our communities or in our circles, if you will, you say hot gravy, you're talking about Kurt, and because his voice was very smooth and very deep, and so I think forever, probably to his family's detriment, I will always remember him as Hot Gravy. So I just wanted to say something along those lines, and his voice will stay on the show for a bit. I don't think we're going to take it out of rotation. We got to watch that rotational button jokes. Some of those quotes are a little too soon to the situation, and it did break me. It was a moment. But all right. Everybody, get ready to what I believe is to be the saddest you're going to be all night. And then when it's done, I'll play the outro music, and we'll be out of here for the regular show.
I never had the chance to meet Kurt in person, but we chatted a few times over Discord. I also bought some 3D printed holiday themed decorations, which my wife absolutely loves and cherishes. When my son completed his Eagle Scout project, building and installing bat houses, we designed this logo. It was a fleur de lis in the shape of a bat. And I posted online. Kurt, he's a Batman fan, reached out, asked for a copy of the image. I gave it to him. And a few weeks later, I received a package in the mail from Kurt. Inside was a beautiful 3D printed plaque featuring that fleur logo, Scout logo mixed with a bat. And he made it especially for my son to commemorate his Eagle Scout achievement. And it was thoughtful, generous gesture that my son cherishes to this day. Another thing I appreciate about Kurt was his love of music, especially barbershop singing. Having sang in some choirs in my youth, I really did enjoy hearing his stories, kind of live vicariously through him, if you will, and how it shaped his life. So while preparing for this and thinking about this, I considered reaching out to his barbershop quartet group to find a recording. I was a bit surprised. It was hard to actually find any really recordings, but I did find this one on his SoundCloud, and it's the only one. So it obviously was something he was very proud of, in addition to his VOB by Kurt work. So with Joe's and Charles's permission, I'd like to close the show with this piece. As you listen, whether your eyes open, closed, pay attention, and just listen. What a wonderful, wonderful, talented person he was. And you'll hear that rich contrabass voice that everyone loved and I really admired. So for this show, Kurt gets the last word.
In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the lark still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields, in Flanders fields, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep though poppies grow. In Flanders fields we shall not sleep though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Worst dad joke ever. See ya.